Hello and welcome to Politics Today, reaching you live from our global headquarters in the nation's Commercial Net Center, Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. 6 days down the line in the brand new year, and a lot is already happening in the world of politics. All you have to do to know what is going on is just to check around, watch television, check the newspapers, or literally watch what's happening in your state or the nation's capital, Abuja. There's a lot going on. Literally, sometimes I feel for INEC, because it's like being a regulator that cannot regulate so much when it comes to the political class. I did mention this the other day, and that has to do with the fact that it's only when the election timetable is out and the schedule or procedure of events is listed by the INEC, then we can begin to see what holds when, primaries, campaigns, and all of that. But hey, that is not to the political class. They start their campaigns whenever they want to start. And they've already started, and they give it all kinds of names, endorsement, summits, tours, and all of that, avoiding the word votes, just to escape, the legal landmines as far as this is concerned. So maybe we need to rephrase some of the things we do, because it really can be a distraction. It really can be a distraction. And this problem is not necessarily unique to Nigeria. But Nigeria takes it to a new level sometimes when it comes to politics. Now, the elections, for the record, as we sit here, will be happening in 2027, except there is an amendment to the Electoral Act, because there are conversations around to make sure that all post-election litigations happen before inauguration. So that simply means that we're not going to have people being incumbent and not sure whether their seat is solid or they are safe or not safe. And I think that's a good direction. But whether or not that will follow through before the 2027 general election, we do not know yet. But that will be maybe the right thing to do. But I'm just raising awareness to the fact that campaigns have started, horse trading has started, the brick bat has started, realignment has started, and that's why we'll continue to look at all of this. So there are two things I want to do on the program today. The first part has to do with what I call some dynamics within the ADC. Some members of the African Democratic Congress, in fact, Dele Momodu, has raised a concern about what I interpret to be grandstanding of the various interests within the party. So there are persons who have either contested to be president or are planning to contest to be president. So we have the likes of Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, Rotimi Amechi, and the rest of them. So the permutation is on. So everybody who is at the back of these individuals within the coalition is beginning to make their own game and play their own game. And Dele Momodu perhaps is saying, look, we have to be careful as a political party so that, in his words, what happened to the PDP doesn't happen to the ADC, which is seen as one of the alternatives as far as the political space is concerned. That's on one hand of the conversation. So I'm going to have the ADC respond to some of these things and many other issues. And the other part is, we want to do what we call some kind of, we always have macroeconomic outlook. The CBN, for instance, has its macroeconomic outlook for the year 2026. You should go check it out. It's a public document, so you know where the projections are. These are just projections based on trends and some of the possibilities they've envisaged in 2026. But sometimes we forget to do what I consider political outlook. So we'll attempt some political outlook. What exactly is going to play out in 2026 or 2027? My guests also will be helping me to make sense of that situation. But first, let's bring you our political roundup stories.
The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) in Ekiti State has announced the commencement of the second phase of the continued voter registration exercise. The registration process, which commences today, was earlier suspended last December to allow for the display of provisional voter register. Speaking with journalists in Ado Ekiti, the resident electoral commissioner, Dr. Bumi Omoshe-Ilemi, called on stakeholders to mobilize eligible residents who missed earlier exercises, especially youth who have recently turned 18. 2018. She cautioned against multiple registrations, stressing that anyone found culpable will face sanctions in line with the law. To Oyo State, where stakeholders of the All Progressives Congress have declared that the party's 8 years in opposition is enough, as they promise to reclaim the Agodi government house in the 2027 general election. The stakeholders, led by the renewed ambassador in the state, Senator Teslim Folari, and other chieftains of the party, including the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, the wife of the late former governor of Oyo State, Mrs. Florence Ajimobi, and the presidential aide, Mr. Sunday Dare, explained this at a political rally in Ogbomosho, where they resolved to move around the state to mobilize grassroots support for the president and the APC ahead of next year's polls. They urged party members to remain united and focused as efforts continue to expand the party's grassroots structures across the state. And in Kwara State, a political pressure group known as Kwara Young Progressives Network is leading a campaign to prioritize competence over zoning as the party prepares for the next governorship election in 2027. Speaking at a news conference in Ilorin, the group knows that the state has in abundance sons and daughters who possess good leadership qualities, and since the constitution of the All Progressives Congress allows open participation, the issue of zoning should be buried. According to the group, the next governor of Kwara State should be someone who possesses qualities that will ensure even distribution of the dividends of democracy to all the parts of the state without discrimination. And the National Association of Resident Doctors is accusing the federal government of altering and reneging on the agreement reached with the body, including the decision to reinstate the 5 disengaged doctors of the Federal Teaching Hospital, Lokoja, Kogi State. The president of the association, Dr. Mohammed Suleiman, disclosed this at a press conference in Abuja. He says since November 27, 2025, when the agreement was signed, none of them have been fulfilled. Dr. Suleiman expressed frustration on the status of the agreement, hinting that some individuals are plotting against the 5 doctors.
Welcome back. So let me bring you my first guest. Let's talk about what is playing out in the ADC. Before we brought you the political roundup stories, I did tell you that Mr. Adele Momodu, who is a member of the ADC, had raised some concerns and all of that. We'll build on to that. But let me bring in my guest, Mr. Bolaji Abdullahi, is the National Publicity Secretary of the African Democratic Congress. Mr. Abdullahi, thank you so much for coming on the program. Happy New Year and welcome back. That's how I'll put it.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Happy New Year.
So before we get to internal issues around the party, what I highlighted when we started, let's talk about your release a few days ago. That is on the backdrop of the Venezuela incident where Trump, there are so many names, abduction, pick-up, all kinds of description given to what happened to Nicolas Maduro. But that is not the big issue here. Your concern from the presser you released, you're concerned about what you consider the silence of the federal government to speak at the world stage. You consider it embarrassing. Those were your words. Let me read a line of it. Let's be clear that the Nigerian government choice of silence in this moment has nothing to do with neutrality. It instead reveals a government that lacks confidence simply because it lacks legitimacy. Isn't that taking it too far?
I mean, it depends on what angle you are looking at it from. If you are looking at it from where we are standing, you'll probably agree with what we have said. If you are looking at it from the other side, of course, you will not agree. But what can be objectively seen today is that under this current administration, Nigeria has lost its stand as a leading voice on the African continent. As a matter of fact, as a leading voice in this West Africa sub-region. This is Nigeria that we're talking about, for God's sake. This is the Nigeria of Jaja Wachukwu. This is Nigeria of Joseph Garba. This is the Nigeria where Nigerian leaders stand on the world stage and take clear positions on issues. Now, what happened last Saturday, it's a defining moment in international politics, the one that has serious implication for global world order. Since the Second World War, a sitting president can go in and just, so what we are saying is that other countries in the West Africa sub-region come out to say this is our position, whether most of them objecting to what happened in Venezuela. Now, it doesn't matter. Nigeria could say, okay, we see it differently and we are supporting it, or we agree with what other people are saying and we don't agree. But what have we seen? Nigeria is nowhere to be found. Nigeria has not said anything. If that does not embarrass you as a citizen, it embarrasses us. The diminution of Nigeria on the international stage is an anomaly, is an embarrassment, is not befitting of a country like ours that is a leader, that should ordinarily be a leader on the African continent. And where is our president? The State House released a statement that our president was proceeding on holiday to Europe. I wonder which country now is called Europe. Then before they eventually told us that he was in Paris, obviously they were too ashamed to tell us that he was going to Paris originally. Now, where is our president? What is he saying about this? So all this are strange to us, is new to us as citizens. Let's put politics aside, if that is possible. But we are saying that as citizens, we feel embarrassed that all these things are happening and Nigeria has no voice in it. So now, to the question of whether what we said is too far, like you said, the only explanation we can find for Nigeria's absence, because there are brilliant people in government, there are people who know what to say under circumstances like this. Why are they not talking? Why are they not saying something? My brother Yusuf Tuga, the foreign affairs minister, is a brilliant man. He knows what to say under the circumstance. So why is Nigeria not saying anything? The only explanation for Nigeria's embarrassing silence at this time is that our government does not have the confidence, the self-confidence to say anything. Is that our government can sense its own vulnerability and therefore does not have the moral courage to come out to say anything publicly. That is the only explanation we can find.
So when you use the word, it lacks confidence simply because it lacks integrity. Is that what you mean? That the reason, as a build-up to that as well, is the fact that, could it be that the last time we spoke, Donald Trump came gun blazing? Remember that we went to the UN, the UNGA, representing the vice president representing our president, and made a statement about the two-party state situation in the Gaza Strip in Israel. And before long, we started seeing all of these things happening. Could it be that they are taking a very cautionary position because of what played out and the fact that bombs have even dropped on home soil?
No, but thank you. But bomb didn't just drop on home soil. If we believe what the federal government said, the federal government said they were the one who invited the Americans to drop the bomb. So if we believe them, it means that by inviting a foreign army to invade your country for whatever reason, or to drop bombs in your country for whatever reason, you have already rendered yourself vulnerable. Perhaps this is the reason they are not able to say anything. That is one side of it. Another side of it, and that's why we are talking about credibility. That's why we're talking about their inability to speak up is because they lack credibility. And credibility in this sense is that they have probably involved themselves in different kind of relationships, these different kind of activities that makes it difficult for them to come out and say, it's like when you are honest, when you have confidence, you have courage, but when you have things to hide, then you are unable to speak. Like my West African brother says, if you have food in your mouth, you cannot speak. But for us, for whatever explanation you can find, for us it's an embarrassment that our country is not able to speak out at this time.
All right, Mr. Abdullahi, so let's move on from that to come to the ADC. Before I raise the question that's been raised by Chief Momodu, there's a book I always like to refer to. It's a great book, Managing for Performance by Pam Jones. And one of the things I learned from that book is the growth and developmental stages of every team. So it says, when people come together, it's called the forming stage. Then, of course, when heritages conflict, then we have the storming stage. Before they normalize, called the norming stage. Before they can actually start performing, called the performing stage. And if it's a project that has to end, the adjourning stage. So, forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. I want to understand where the ADC is now, because it's an aggregation, a coalition. The forming stage is here, where pleasantries are exchanged. Are we already in the storming stage? Where are we?
Well, I mean, I am not familiar with the framework that you have laid out before me, so I wouldn't try to even try to use it. But what I'm saying is that there's nothing happening in ADC today that is unusual. I mean, we are happy that different people are coming into our party and that our party is strong enough to attract or found to be viable enough to attract the kind of people that are coming into the party as in the coalition was announced. So we are delighted to see that. Then, as a matter of principle, what is the role of a political party? It's also to aggregate conflicting interests, you know, to create opportunities for people to contest election and then to pursue their political ambition. Then the political party's business is to aggregate all these conflicting interests, and that's what we see. So for us, we are not bothered at all. The most important duty that we have as political party is to ensure that we provide a level playground for every single person that seeks to use the ADC to pursue their political ambition and insist that everybody play by the rule. Because we've seen what has happened to other political parties. Yes, I mean, let's take. I don't want to. So if you hack back on what has happened, you can see that the internal contradictions and the internal the lack of discipline that has undermined some of these political parties. But we have learned from all that, and we are saying that, and every single member of the ADC knows today that nothing has been determined, regardless of what anybody looking from the outside might say. So the fact that people are coming in means that they are confident that there is that opportunity for everyone to aspire to be anything. No conversation is going on at the moment about who will be the flag bearer of the party or who will be running mate to who. Every single issues have not been resolved regarding the who will fly the flag of the party in 2027. But when that time comes, we are going to have a position. And our first recourse will be to try to engineer a measure of consensus based on the challenges that we have ahead of us. We are building a coalition, and we are building a winning coalition. And if that doesn't happen, of course, we are going to have a competitive primaries, and it's going to be free, it's going to be open, and it's going to be transparent, and every Nigerian will see that this is the direction that ADC wants to go, as a party of rules, as a party that is transparent, that obeys its own laws and regulation.
Mr. Abdullah, the intent of mainstreaming opposition is the fact that it's important for a robust democracy to have credible opposition. So it's always important we check exactly what is going on with the opposition. I'll read a line of what Mr. Dele Momodu, Chief Dele Momodu said, and then I'll ask my question. He said, but in recent time, he said a couple of other things, but in recent times, some groups have introduced aggression and rambunctiousness into fledgling cooperation and collaboration of all. How can a coalition work if some groups insist they must produce the top ticket by donation or coronation without election or persuasion? Why unleash tantrums and expletives on one another as if one group can win national election without others? His warning here is to the effect that he even mentioned the name of Nyesom Wike and the PDP. So my question will be, it looks like the pleasantries seem to be close to over. So this interest wrangling may have begun, which is not strange. There's nothing strange about it. But the question would be, what are the guardrails to avoid falling into the pits of references that you may know?
I mean, for us, it's very straightforward. I mean, the people who are saying this are convinced about what they are saying. So fine, it's okay. It's okay for anybody to say, oh, if this person doesn't get it, then they are no longer interested. Okay, that is fine. But what matters most is what the party is saying. And what the party is saying is that we are going to be open, we are going to be transparent, and we are going to engage every single stakeholder honestly, openly, and transparently. And that's what matters. I mean, the people saying what they are saying, they also know that there is an extent to which you can demand democracy and also demand that something should be done undemocratically. But sometimes passion overcomes this kind of objective analysis and is allowed. It's like a football fan. Political supporters also sometimes behave like that. That is fine, no problem. I mean, for us as a party, that's part of our duty to to accommodate all these and aggregate all these various tendencies and feeling. I've read Chief Dele Momodu's comments, and I think he's very good, and I think he's useful, so there's no problem at all.
Well, I like it when politicians dismiss whatever the challenges are. It's the usual rhetoric we hear, but we'll continue to interrogate these issues. But let me even dig even further as far as the conversation around your party is concerned. I'm looking through the list of everybody that is in that party. So we have one of the, Atiku Abubakar has been trying to be president since 1993. That should make it over 30 years plus. This is 2026. So that should make it close to 32 plus years. And we have new entrants into the arena of presidential run. The likes of Rotimi Amechi, who did well in the primaries of the APC. The likes of Peter Obi, who did well as somebody who doesn't have a structure in that sense in the last election. So, but I think politicians take, and the people perhaps take the political parties serious when they see result. When should we be expecting result? Because as of last year, the excuse was to the effect that this is a new party, they are trying to still aggregate. Policy documents are really not out and all of that. But we have an off-cycle election coming in Ekiti, in Osun State. When should we be seeing the impact so that people can say, okay, I think it's time to look in the direction of the ADC for those who want to?
I mean, there are two ways to look at it. How a political party performs at election, and we are focused on that. And what we said about the previous elections, we said it very seriously because some of these elections came too soon for us. But we are committed to doing very well in the next elections. We are committed to doing very well in Ekiti, in Osun, and of course the FCT in February. We are getting ready. We are doing everything possible to win those elections. So but more significantly, which is the other side that I'm saying, is that anyone that who wants to join a political party at this time in Nigeria should know that the responsibility, the duty that we have is to our country. We look at what is happening or what has happened in the last 2.5 years, or 3 years, sorry, look at the last 3 years and ask ourselves, is this really Nigeria? Is this really our country? Can we really afford to continue like this? So all the issues are there. And every single person who has a role to play know what to do. They know that, and like we have always said, is either you are with the ruling party, and if you are with the ruling party, of course, you don't want this to end. You are part of the gravity train, you are happy. But if you are not part of that, you are on the side of the people, and you see what the country is being put through, then you know where to belong. And ADC today, we are delighted that is the main opposition party, is perhaps the only option that is left that has the strength and the legitimacy to be able to provide alternatives to Nigerians. So that's how it's going to play out. But without prejudice to all that, I'm saying that the next coming elections, you are going to see us performing very well. The situation, you will see what will happen in these elections that you have mentioned. Especially we are coming to FCT and Osun and Ekiti, and you see what will happen.
Yes, the FCT election, I think it's the council election. It's about, I think, next month. INEC should be conducting that election. All of the interests are gearing up. And we're building up to the point where we'll see timetable by INEC and all of the fireworks will begin. So I have discovered in observing what has been playing out, I am trying in this conversation with you not to go to policy issues, just stay with the politics. But if we have to go to policy, I will try my best to go there. If you look at what I think the APC is going to put out, which is something we're all familiar with, you're familiar with, because you have to be familiar with it to counter it. Some look good, some look debatable, some are outrightly poor, depending on what data and what sets you're looking at. But it looks like the conversation now is about, I watched a movie called How to Get Away with Murder. They say discredit the witness, create reasonable doubt, control the narrative. So it looks like right now the attention is on the individual makeup of your political party as to how they performed previously. That's what I mean by discredit the witness in this narrative. Is there validity in some of the things they are saying and pulling up? Because some would say some of the members of the ADC, for instance, who were governors, could not deliver the party to them. Other parties won. Some said the governors did not perform well. Some are saying the other ones are perpetual contester. There are so many things. But what do you make of it?
Okay, I'll answer that question by asking you another question. Who was the governor of Delta at the time of the last election? Ifeanyi Okowa, right? He was the governor of Delta at the time of the last election. But Peter Obi won in Delta State, didn't he?
He did.
Edo State was under APC at the time. Peter Obi won in that state or not? He did. Lagos State was an APC. In fact, that's where the incumbent President Bola Tinubu came from. And Peter Obi won in Lagos State. So what I'm saying is that all these things about, somebody, he did not because he don't have a governor or something, it does not follow. At this time, what is clear, and that is the point I'm making, you can continue to cherry pick, you can continue to single or isolate individuals and say, they have done this in the past, you have not done this. Who among the political class from 1960 up to today can you isolate and say this person is an angel? Or this person, and we are not going to say because people have done some things in the past, then we are not going to move forward with the task of building our country. We are not going to bring new politicians from another country. We are not going to manufacture a new set of politicians overnight. It's the same politicians who have placed politics in Nigeria that are coming together to say, we want to be part of finding solution to this. And you can begin to say, but look at you have done this in the past. Okay, yes, they have done that in the past. But does that negate the fact that our country today is in desperate need of rescue, and everybody that has anything to contribute is agreeing to come together to say, regardless of what we have done in the past, this is an opportunity for us to take our country back. In the first place, you can only play politics when you have a country. But look at our country today. Some days back, we all saw what happened. America coming to drop bomb in Nigeria, and we all say, okay, maybe something is happening. But you saw what happened in Niger State two days ago. So is this our country? But more importantly, all this thing you can say is not just happening now. It happened in 2014. It happened in 2015 when President Jonathan was here. But President Jonathan did not abandon the country in the midst of all that. He did not run away. He did not go on holiday while all that is happening. So that is a critical difference. The question you ask yourself is whether...
Mr. Abdullahi, one of the things, if you hear them talk, the APC, for instance, they said, Nigeria is lucky to have a president like Bola Tinubu. When you hear that, what comes to your mind?
Nigeria is lucky? Maybe what comes to my mind is I'll probably go and check the meaning of luck again. Maybe luck now has a different meaning. Because what I know is that the kind of situation, the kind of hardship that Nigerians are faced with today is unprecedented. But more importantly, is the denial of the reality of the majority of the people. Every single record, every single assessment has said Nigeria is not going in the right direction. And they keep telling us no. They say, no, the economy is doing well. No, you are not hungry. Don't worry. Even if you are hungry, don't worry. Just a little more. Something will happen. And this is year 3. Year 3, they are still talking as if they are celebrating the last election. Year 3, they are still talking about they are still campaigning, making promises, as if they were not the one in power in the last 3 years. But more importantly is the lack of sensitivity, the lack of, it is mind-bending, the lack of care about what the people are going through. Look at this tax. We said, you guys, apart from, we are not ignoring the fundamental of whether it is conscionable for a government that has put the people through what they have put them through in the last 3 years to now be adding the burden of taxation to the life of the people. And by the way, all kinds of lies have been told to Nigerians about who is going to pay these taxes and who is not going to pay. They keep telling us, actually, the poor will not pay. But we know that it's all lies. By the time they begin to take this money, Nigerians will know who is actually stealing from them. That is one. 2, we said this is the first time that the National Assembly will pass a law, and the president will sign that law, and they will go ahead and forge a different law entirely and insert new clauses without the knowledge of the National Assembly, and they will post that as the gazetted law that have been passed by the legislature. That is a criminal offense, and it is only a government like this that can do something like that. But unfortunately, the National Assembly, what did they do? Okay, let's reconcile. Let us look at what we have done. Let us reconcile it to what you have done. Okay, it is now clean. Now we can go ahead and implement. I mean, at the end of the day, you ask yourself, do we really want to build a country that is based on the principles of rule of law, that is based on the Constitution of Nigeria, that there are lines that individuals, no matter how highly placed, cannot cross? All the countries we aspire to be like, they are built on laws, that there are laws that nobody can cross. But in this country, it appears that under this administration, people can get away with anything because they think Nigerians have become so cynical.
Let me come in. I
Nigerians
just have about,
up.
my apologies. I just have about 2 more minutes to wrap up this segment. And I think, if I heard the APC correctly, and I think we can all agree, they admitted as well, that the policy of government, especially those policies that, you know, subsidies removal on whether electricities, PMS and FX, has brought Nigerians into unprecedented hardship. But they said this unprecedented hardship is necessary for the future. But this is where I'm going to. If peradventure the ADC wins the presidential election in 2027, what is the quick action to restore joy in the hearts of Nigerians? Is there any plan like that? If you can answer it in 1 minute.
Of course there is a plan like that, and I can tell you here that by next week we are inaugurating our committees that will outline all the policies and programs that ADC will use to sell itself to Nigerians. And top of the agenda is how to make life better for Nigerians, how to make life easier for Nigerians, and how to ease these difficulties. I don't want to start telling you my opinion, because I'm not speaking for myself, I'm speaking for the party. But what I can tell you that what ADC is insisting on is that Nigeria cannot continue like this. Nigerians cannot continue like this. No light at the end of the tunnel can justify this pitch blackness that has blinded everybody, so to say. So they said they had to apply shock therapy to the economy, but what they are doing is not shock. They have electrocuted everybody. So this is no longer shock, it's electrocution.
You know, I said I'm not going to go into the policy, so I'll just talk politics. But I must thank you so much for holding your own. And the fireworks will begin soon in the nearest future, and we're going to have all of you debating over policy ideas on how to make Nigeria better. We're here to moderate those sessions. But I must thank you, Mr. Bolaji Abdullahi is the National Publicity Secretary of the African Democratic Congress and also a former Minister of the Federal Republic. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you. Have a good evening.
We'll take a break. When we come back after this break, I'll be talking with people that are now politicians. They are like us, who are not interested in what party wins and what party doesn't win. We want to give some kind of an outlook, political outlook. So they'll be analyzing each of the parties within the time we have, their strength and their weakness, and what is it for you as citizens. Join us in just a moment. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We want to attempt something called the 2026 political outlook for Nigeria, because it's a year where you're going to see a lot of political activities ahead of the 2027 general election. My guest, Jide Ojo, political affairs analyst, joins us virtually, as well as Austin Aigbe, regional advocacy officer, West African Democracy Solidarity Network, WADEMOS. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the program. I don't know which was the problem, but if you can unmute your devices so we can try again. Thank you for coming on the program.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Mr. Aigbe. Mr. Ojo, can you hear us?
I can hear you, and I'm responding. I'm greeting you.
All right, fantastic. Happy New Year to both of you, gentlemen. Mr. Aigbe, the last time we saw...
I wish Happy New Year to both of you, too.
Last time we saw was on the field in Anambra election. Well, 2027 is just by the corner. We're counting now months, no longer years, ahead of that election. But we can already see what is playing out already among political parties, whether it's the APC, the PDP, the ADC, the Labour Party, NNPP. So I want to attempt to look at your interpretation of what is happening within this individual party. Let's start with the ruling party, Mr. Aigbe. Let me start with you before I go to Mr. Ojo. When you look at the APC, they have 28 governors now. Is it 28 or 29? About that. And then they have supermajority in the Senate, significant majority in the House of Representatives. We can go on and on as to the sub-national levels. So That is one strength they have. But if you want to look at the party beyond what we see and say this is their strength and this is their weakness, what will it be? APC, let's start with them.
Their strength is incumbency, incumbent power. Strength is resources. They've got the number of states to mobilize adequate resources for effective campaign or financial campaign. And of course, their strength include the ability to be able to pull people on their side, either by instrument of force or coercion, or for the purpose of a given appointment, so they could align on their path. So again, all of these tend to line up under the incumbency factor. Ruling party, ruling government, those are the instrument of state, instrument of force, instrument of coercion, particularly when they also have instrument, the state architecture, as it were. If you call it state capture mechanism, yes, you can say that the government in power does appoint the judiciary, appoint the chief of the service chiefs, appoint the police chiefs, appoint all of those security architectures. All of those are the strength of the ruling party. The flip side is that because everybody is in, the party may bust. We've seen it in recent time, and I hope that with the conflict committee, reconciliation committee set up, we'll be able to handle the kind of upheaval that will happen within that party.
Let me come to you, Mr. Ojo. The reason, I'll tell you, at the end of the day, I'll tell you where we're doing this. Mr. Ojo, what do you make of the strength and the weakness of the APC? Because sometimes we need analysts like you to be able to paint the entire picture for all of these parties to see themselves. Because Nigerians are watching, Nigerians will rally behind different political parties. People like you will be able to give an overview of what you see, maybe help them to make a decision.
Well, thank you, Geoffrey, for inviting me on your show. You know, like my brother Austin has said, the All Progressive Congress has a lot going for it in terms of incumbency factor, in terms of political influence. But I think the icing on the cake for me, while I endorse all that Austin has said, the icing on the cake is political stability that APC currently enjoys. While you have different factions dragging themselves in other parties, there is one APC as of today. I don't know about tomorrow, but as of today, if you are in APC, you are sure of who will sign your nomination form. The national chairman is not in doubt. The national secretary is not in doubt. The national working committee members are not in doubt. So, and you need to listen to many of the governors who have defected. Let me quote Governor Umar Eno when he defected. He said he knew he could win re-election under PDP, which was the party that gave him victory in 2023. But he does not want his victory to be vitiated. Look at what has happened in Osun and Ekiti states regarding the nomination of PDP candidates, where INEC has refused to recognize the PDP candidate in Ekiti state and then the PDP candidate in Osun state. So what does that tell you? No matter your good intentions, you want to keep fidelity with your party and all of that. When you are not sure whether the litigation upon which your nomination will be subjected will be in your favor or against you, then you have to look twice. Let me also remind our viewers what happened in Plateau State ahead of 2023 election, when many people, including serving senators and House of Reps members, lost their seat because the court ruled that the PDP does not have structure in Plateau State. And it was only the governor, Caleb Mutfwang, who escaped the hammer because his own case ended up at the Supreme Court. Assuming that the the petition, the election petition of the governors were to end at the Court of Appeal as it was before 2011. Perhaps Tinubu of Plateau State will not have been sitting governor today, all because of the issue around who is the legitimate faction of PDP and the court ruling that the PDP does not have structure in Plateau State. So when you look at all of this, beyond the issue of coercion, beyond the issue of inducement, beyond the issue of incumbency, it is about certainty about who will sign my nomination form if I contest under this party. And there are not many parties who are not in crisis today. Some, their cases are still being litigated upon. Some they are papering over it. But by and large, I think this is just the biggest factor working for APC.
Just a quick one before I go back to Mr. Aigbe. What do you see as a possible Achilles heel in the APC?
Now, that's the easier part. On this morning on Politics Nationwide on Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, I did say, without any fear of equivocation, that there will be an implosion in APC at some point. The reason being that the migration or exodus into APC is largely on self-interest, not the interest of the constituents. And some have come out whispering that they have been promised automatic ticket. I'm not sure automatic ticket will work for everybody who has defected into APC. Some of these positions will be up for contestation. And Baba Sokwe politics may not work in favor of some of the aspirants. And so the natural reaction would be, if Baba Sokwe does not follow, apologies for those who may not understand Yoruba, Baba Sokwe is that the elder has declared, or the elder has decided that this is the candidate, in which case, whatever the primaries you may want to organize, it is a predetermined outcome because a particular aspirant has been anointed. See what happened, what played out in Ekiti State under APC. That was a typical Sokwe politics.
All right, Mr.
where
yes.
Some of the aspirants were disqualified on certain grounds that people have found very nebulous. So what I'm saying is that when people don't get what they went into that party for, there is that likelihood that they will defect to another party to realize.
All right, Mr. Let me come in. I like the fact that you highlighted Baba Sokwe, which is one Hercules heel they will watch out for, because, you know, Nigerian politicians, what I've observed over time, seeing how it's played right here, the one strong factor around them, besides every other factor, is self-preservation and subservience to power, which is why you see all of the defections. Let me come to you, Mr. Aigbe. So maybe we can do an omnibus, Mr. Aigbe, of the other political parties, which from your analysis and Mr. Ojo's analysis, looks like when it comes to the pros or the strengths, APC holds sway in that sense, especially because they're in power and all this migration and realignments are happening. So let's look at ADC. ADC has big guns, former vice president, former Senate president, former governors, former ministers. The PDP is struggling between Nyesom Wike's faction and Seyi Makinde's faction. So maybe you can give us an omnibus analysis of your outlook for them and whether or not, for instance, for the PDP, there's even a general fear that one group is working towards making sure that the party doesn't have a presidential candidate. The other say, no, it's not going to happen. What do you see?
Well, for the PDP, about a year ago, I'd advised the party to be thinking about restructuring. They restructure or they die. So today, it is almost clear that their inability to restructure is arguably leading to their death. And whether you like it or not, the PDP is not, I repeat and repeat very clearly, the PDP is not a part of opposition conversation ahead of 2027 election. I don't know the magic that will happen, and I don't see it happening. the PDP will need to realign, whether they remain as political party, but aligning with another political party to be able to survive. I think that for the PDP, long before now, about a year ago, they should have been mapping up a strategy of some form of coalition building, which of course we have seen earlier in the 2013, 2014, leading to the 2015 election. Coalition is the key. The PDP of 2013, 2014 suffered the kind of thing we're talking about today, that the explosion because of the usurpation of powers and the exploitation of all manner of people, because it was the only platform on which you may win election. The same kind of conversation my brother Jido Joe are just trying to explain. Today, if you are not in the APC, you may not win election. And that is what is almost an unwritten rule, an unwritten conversation, that if you are not in the APC, you may have challenge in any other party. And of course, the Labour Party has its division, but the ADC, you can say they have division, even though that division is not substantive. The person who came and said who declares himself as chair does not even have the locus to declare himself as chair. You can say the NMPP also had his own fraction at some point. I wouldn't know if they've resolved that fraction. If the Kwakwasiya group remained the leader of the NMPP. Having said that, the NDC, as of today, seems to be like the convergence of all the political thought who are not able to shine in their political jurisprudence. For instance, Labour Party. You saw that, in quote, what I would tag new PDP in today's architecture. In 2013, 2014, we had the new PDP, which is NPDP. So we had CPC, we have ACN, we have ABGA that converged, and then rather than form a coalition under a political party, they established a new political party, which is now the APC. And their intentions were clear. They've got blueprints that was fantastic.
Yeah, let me bring him my apologies, Mr. Aigbe. Let me bring in Mr. Ojo because of time. Now, something just crossed my mind, and I want both of you to respond to it, but I'll start with Mr. Ojo. It's very concerning. I'm not sure what exactly the political class is building. I'll give you what I mean by what I said. First, just literally 10 years after, PDP that had almost 28 governors as at 2003 or so, to being in power till 2015, in 2025, 2026, we are seeing PDP brought down to like 4 governors. 4. This is a party that ruled for 16 years. Let's come about the 2023 election. 2023 presidential election, APC won 8.7 million votes. PDP came second, 6.9 million votes. Labour came third with 6.1 million votes. And then Kwankwaso of the NMPP came with 1.4 million votes. What is looking like right now is that there's doubt about what will happen with the PDP. Labour Party, the force around Labour Party has left. It looks like we don't know what's going to play out. So my question is, are we really building political parties, or we're just building SPVs? Because it looks like if this APC, the day they win election, similar things that I've just described will happen to them. How do we check this? Mr. Ojo?
No, there's no two way about it. Primarily, in Nigeria, political parties are special purpose vehicles for electoral contestations and winning political offices. The ideological leaning of any of the parties is suspect, even though they parrot that they have ideology. But the difference between APC today and ADC is that you find between 6 and half a dozen. It's almost like, because even when you look at people, the so-called chieftains of ADC today, former chieftains of PDP yesterday, former chieftains of APC yesterday. So it's primarily a special purpose vehicle. And you can see that the court has not helped matters, because the court has ruled that your joint ticket either as a president and vice president, governor and deputy governor, is limited to contesting election. After election, you can go your separate ways. Look at very recent example. Was it last week or last 2 weeks that Governor Similaye Fubara defected to APC? His deputy just defected yesterday. The deputy governor of Rivers did not defect with his governor. The same thing happened in Bayelsa, where the late deputy governor refused to defect with his governor based on the assumption that he doesn't believe he should defect. So what I'm trying to emphasize is that political parties are special purpose vehicle to contest election. In fact, if assuming that we have altered our law to make way for independent candidacy, I know there will have been a lot of politicians who
all right, Mr. Ojo, let me bring in Mr. Aigbe. My apologies. Let me bring in Mr. Aigbe because Mr. Aigbe, the same question. Because as we're talking is when it crossed my mind, it looks like we're not building parties. Parties are a platform to drive ideologies. We're just busy building SPVs. Isn't that very concerning and absolutely disturbing for you, who is a watcher like me, and for Nigerians who want to rally around an ideology, whether the ideology is right or wrong, but something they can hold on to as a belief, which we can't find?
Let me be clear and straight to the answer. There is no political party system in Nigeria. Jide Ojo has given it a name, Special Purpose Vehicle. Maybe that's a good title. As far as I'm concerned, it's a convergence of association to win election. When you fail in that election, you are back to status quo. There is no political party system. I worked to support political party system in Nigeria for many years, and back to back, we kept experiencing the same challenge of leadership within political party architecture, the strength and the capacity of political party system to truly respond to action as a political party. But in this case, when you win election, the head of state or the head of government at the lower level becomes the leader. You now have a national leader, you now have the governor who is a state leader. Maybe the governor was a special candidate who was brought into contest election, who never knew anything about the political party, and still become a leader. We have had that example from Obasanjo regime, where Obasanjo immediately became the national leader of the PDP. Having said that, the parties in Nigeria, until there's a caveat in law that says that you lose your ticket when you defect to another political party from where you won election. It's even a moral concern that someone who won on the party ticket on party ADA, or sorry, not ADA, I'm trying to look for a new word, MOP, and suddenly you left the party to another party that you contested with and lost elections to you. What happened to that individual that you're going to join in that political party? It's a waste of system architecture in our system. The truth is this. I told you in our Anambra conversation that most political parties are looking for opportunity for networking. They go to contest election in a party they know will never have 10 or 5 votes. So they create an opportunity because INEC does not recognize small party or big party. Political party is political party under INEC platform. So when they have the stakeholders meeting, all of these guys converge in a hall, so they have opportunity to discuss future engagement with the people that will win election. So they network. They see those opportunities as network. So when they lose the election, they quickly move and have a call. Hello, like we discussed the last time, can we talk this matter on? The problem is there's no party in Nigeria.
Oh, it's quite sad to see. I don't know. Anyway, we're here to see how parties can be built, but it looks like the political class had a different matter altogether. As a matter of fact, when you raise the issue of morality, some of the political class and morality don't work in the same room. Legality can't hold them. You want to bring morality, then you're wasting your time. But they are what we have. We have to make do what we have until we get it right. But I must thank you both for giving us this little outlook, expansive outlook, if I would say, as of 2026 into 2027. We'll be calling you back as much as possible. Thank you. I appreciate you both. Mr. Jide Ojo, political affairs analyst, as well as Austin Aigbe, Regional Advocacy Officer of the West Africa Democracy Solidarity Network. Thank you, sirs. And that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, your usual company. Sean, your regular host, should be back tomorrow on the program. So thank you for keeping company with me. Gracias. God bless. Good night.